This is Leafs Morning Take with Nick Alberga and Jay Rosehill.
Now we've got a fight started here right off the bat with Rosehill.
30 minutes of live, nonstop Leafs talk starts now.
What's going on, everybody? It's the Tuesday edition of Leafs Morning Take. Who's ready for the battle of the point streaks between the Dallas Stars and the Toronto Maple Leafs? Jason Robertson and his 18-gamer against Mitch Marner and his 19-gamer. Hello, I'm Nick Alberga, riding solo on this Tuesday. Again, Jay Rosehill, as per usual, when he's fighting fires, will drop by in mere moments for 3 Hits with Rosie. And we'll get his thoughts on the upcoming game tonight for the Maple Leafs. Certainly a lot to talk about, especially with the point streaks. Like it's really, really fascinating when you have 2 point streaks like this collide head to head, and in the fashion they've done so as well. So we'll get to that conversation coming up. Remember to subscribe, tap that like button, leave us a review wherever you're checking us out. Don't forget to visit theleafsnation.com for the very latest happening on all things Toronto Maple Leafs. Thoughts, comments, concerns, or questions as well. You know that YouTube chat down below? Write it in there, and I'll bring it up on air in about 20 minutes or so from now. Should mention as well, I tried to connect last week with Detroit Red Wings forward Matt Luff of Oakville, Ontario. Can't forget that. Well, finally, the time has come. Technical difficulties aside, we'll get him on in about 10 minutes from now. We'll talk about how his recovery is coming from a broken wrist. A couple chicklets out a couple weeks back, too. So we'll touch base with Matt Luff, friend of the program, coming up in about 10 minutes from now. But for now, let's get over the boards. So the storyline for tonight's game writes itself. You have Mitch Marner, the last 19 games, 9 goals, 17 assists, 26 points. You have Robertson, unbelievable run this guy's on, by the way. 21 goals in the last 18 games during this point streak, 13 assists, and 34 points. Lineup news as well. Semyon Duragachintsev, we talked about this yesterday, expected to make his NHL debut tonight for the Maple Leafs in favor of Wayne Simmons coming into the lineup in that game. Then Connor Timmins expected to make his Maple Leafs debut tonight as well. It's been a long time coming. Nearly 2 weeks. Yes, 2 weeks since he was acquired from the Arizona Coyotes. Will make his debut in for Mac Hollowell tonight in that one. The Maple Leafs 15-5-6. Dallas 14-6-5. And if you do recall, like it seems like a long time ago, way back when on October 20th, the battle of the Robertsons 1.0 this season. Nick Robertson scored twice in that game, tied it, then won it in overtime for the Toronto Maple Leafs. So they actually drew first blood in this 2-game season series. The Maple Leafs, by the way, on an 11-game point streak, they're 8-0-3 in that stretch. They haven't lost in regulation, if you can believe this, since November 11th. As we speak right now, don't know the starting goalie as well for the Dallas Stars. We do know that Matt Murray is the confirmed starter for the Maple Leafs in this game. So, you know, again, and some games will just write themselves. Without question, the story is Mitch Marner. The story is Jason Robertson, the 2 incredible runs both these guys have been on, and what it means for tonight's game, right? I think you look at point streaks in general. I did some digging before the show. The modern-day record is Patrick Kane back in 2015, had a 26-game point streak. Back in 2010, Sidney Crosby did 25 in a row. So I think that's the next thing up when you look at Mitch Marner specifically is how many games can I get to now? He sets the franchise mark. Can I get to Crosby? Can I get to Patrick Kane? Then you're starting to talk about the real greats. And again, it's easy to forget the point streaks that Wayne Gretzky put together or Mario Lemieux put together. It just shows you a different era, the type of players, what they meant to the game in general really is incredible in the grand scheme of things what these guys put together. But certainly 2 red-hot teams. You can't look past that either. Dallas has been an incredible story. Have only lost once in regulation in the last 10. As mentioned, the Maple Leafs have only haven't lost in regulation, I should say, since November 11th. Folks, we're approaching a month without a regulation loss here for the Maple Leafs. So looking forward to this one in Big D, game 2 of 2 on the season between the Dallas Stars and the Toronto Maple Leafs. Speaking of which, I'm also looking forward to hear what Jay Rosehill has to say. Obviously, coming off a pretty decent weekend for the Maple Leafs way back when on Saturday, they lose 4-3 in overtime. That's another prevailing storyline for this team. Don't get it to OT because you will lose. They're 1-for-6 on the season in overtime. Of course, Alex Killorn scoring the game winner for Tampa, but Toronto did gain a point. And at the end of the day, that's all that matters. They're 8-0-3 in this 11-game point streak. So I think when you look at it from the Maple Leafs perspective, you want to see some building blocks in anticipation for the springtime and the Stanley Cup playoffs. And again, among the storylines, and certainly, Robertson versus Marner is the big talk today. Semyon Duragachintsev, his NHL debut, and also Connor Timmins on the back end, has the pedigree. He's played in the Western Conference. And it sounds like both those guys, by the way, will be on power play too, which just stunk up the joint. I went on a rant yesterday. I do not want to see Pierre Engvall on PP2 anymore. Well, I didn't get my wish, by the way. He's still in the second power play unit, but they've inserted Connor Timmins, again, making his Leafs debut, and also Semyon Duragachintsev, he's a highly skilled player. So I think at the very least, I think he boosts that second power play unit. So as mentioned, in about 5 minutes from now, Matt Luff of the Detroit Red Wings will drop by. For now, we're going to get 3 hits with Rosie.
Hey there, folks. Rosie here. Another 3 hits with Rosie. Number one, I'm starting off with, obviously, everyone's been talking about it. Everyone's probably tired of talking about it. Mitch Marner gets the record this week, surpasses every Toronto Maple Leaf that's ever played as far as a point streak goes. Very impressive. I think he's totally excited about it. Whatever. Honestly, I think he's glad to have it behind him. Everyone's been asking him about that every single interview for weeks and weeks and weeks. Did he want the record? Of course. Does it mean anything? It really doesn't in the big scheme of things. It's a feather in his cap. It means he's playing fantastic hockey. I personally like that it's taken a little bit of spotlight off of Austin Matthews for a change. He doesn't have to be the go-to guy and have everyone talking about him. Their kind of reporters are rushing over to Mitch for a little while, which is great, and I think it can give Austin a little bit of a break and a breather room from all the spotlight. And good on Mitch Marner. I'm sure he's the first one to say I'm glad that's over. Every win, every game here with a point from now on is kind of a bonus. I think he's more worried about stacking up the wins than anything, though. Number 2, our big game so far at the beginning of this week. We are playing the Dallas Stars. We haven't played them since October 20th. It was a 3-2 win for the Toronto Maple Leafs, and since then, a lot of similar things have been going on. These Stars have got a 14-6-5 record. We've got a 15-5-6 record. I think we're both shit in overtime is what it looks like to me. Nonetheless, very similar with points, styles, very similar in the standings right now. This is kind of a cool game because these teams are very evenly matched at the moment. What I like the most is Jason Robertson going against his baby brother, Nick Robertson. I cannot believe that Jason Robertson is 23 years old. I mean, he's played 25 games. He's got 23 goals in that span, 18 appetizers for 41 points. Like, what even is that from a child, an 18-year-old? Speaking of children, his little brother is up against him. He's 21 years old. And he's playing, his 14th game of the season this year. And he's had some games where he's busted out, and I think he's due for one of those. I would love nothing more than if Nick Robertson buries a big one tomorrow, I guess tonight, and takes the spotlight away from his big brother. Gotta die laughing. I would love that. And I would also like to be part of the group text afterwards. Number 3, I've been asked a few times here lately, is there anything different about this Maple Leafs team? Are they legit this year, or is it the same old story? And to be honest with you, what I really see different right now is their goaltending. They have fixed their goaltending situation as of right now, and they haven't fixed it with 1 layer. They fixed it with 2 layers. Both these tendies right now are rock solid, and I'm thrilled that they're both in the lineup, and I just know that coming down the stretch when most teams are having goaltender problems, they're going to be able to ham and egg it a little bit with each other as far as who's on the ball, who's feeling good, who's playing out their ass, who's injured. Whatever the case is, we've got a backup plan no matter what the story is. So for that reason is my number 1 reason why they are a better hockey team. Also, their character just seems to be better. They're not squeezing their sticks when a team comes within 1 goal in the third period. They're not having major collapses. They're not giving away leads. They're finishing. They're playing with character, and for whatever reason, they've got it going on, and that's chemistry, stuff you can't really account for. It's those intangibles, and there's no reason for them to have it after all the injury problems that they have had this year, especially on the D-core. Dare I say it, their defense this year is as good as it's been in a long time, which is insanity considering how many times they've had call-ups, how many injuries they've had, how many Marlies have been breaking through and playing really stellar. It's a testament to their pipeline, their scouting, the Marlies, the coaching staff, everyone that's been developing these kids coming up. They look really solid. So for that reason, I am excited about this game against the Stars tonight, and I think they're due for a big W. Cheers, folkies.
Well, first and foremost, great style on the backwards hat there for Rosie, and always fired up. He is pumped up for Robertson versus Robertson 2.0. I love that. So he's looking past the Marner versus Robertson narrative. He wants to see brothers go toe-to-toe, and I think in a deranged world, Rosie would love to see Robertson versus Robertson in a scrap, right? Knowing his background in this league and dropping the mitts, and certainly it'll be fascinating, right? You have on one side of the spectrum Mitch Marner, a 19-game point streak, Jason Robertson on the other, and I think the more impressive part with Robertson is the rate he is scoring goals. It's very Austin Matthews-like. Like another guy I would look at tonight if you're laying some coin on this game would be Austin Matthews, just more so because of the potential and also because of the pace that Jason Robertson is scoring goals. I think it's sort of an ego thing, not to be overshadowed type thing. And, for the most part, by his standards, Austin Matthews has really, really struggled. Again, by his standards, right? He's still scoring goals, but not to the level he did the last couple of years for this team. And certainly you could have that Rocker Richard conversation too when it comes to Austin Matthews, when it comes to Jason Robertson in general. So we're looking to connect here with Matt Luff in mere moments. Not a big technology guy, clearly, but we'll get that cooking in mere moments. Again, the Leafs and the Dallas Stars, some big D tonight. Semyon Durga-Chinsev, NHL debut, in for Wayne Simmons. That's the expectation, at least. And Connor Timmins expected to make his Maple Leafs debut in place of Mac Hollowell. And I know they asked the question yesterday, like, why now? Why now the decision to put Connor Timmins into the lineup like 2 weeks after the fact? But I understand why they didn't put him in. I think when you're winning games, it's hard to make that decision to change the lineup. And I think we're getting that perspective clearly lately when it comes to Connor Timmins. So that's the expectation. He'll come into the lineup. Again, when you look at these two teams, eerily similar, their paths. I think, to be fair, like Dallas has outplayed the potential and the expectation going into the season. So certainly from that perspective, it's been a bit of a different tune. And Tyler Seguin's had a great year. So is Jamie Benn. I'm very curious too. Like, we haven't got official confirmation on the starting goaltenders in this game either. More so for Dallas. We know Matt Murray's going to get the call for the Leafs, but I wonder if it's Jake Ottinger coming off a rough outing on Sunday against Minnesota. They lose in the shootout. And to that point, Scott Wedgwood always seems to play a lot against the Maple Leafs. The last couple years specifically, it never seems like Toronto lands on Jake Ottinger. And selfishly, as a hockey fan, I would love to see that. Maybe more so as a Leafs fan, you don't want to see that because Jake Ottinger is one of the premier goalies in this league. But so I wonder if it's Wedgwood. And again, only time will tell throughout the day as we get closer and closer to puck drop. We're looking at 8:30 Eastern time for a puck drop in that game. Aaron, do we have Matt Luff yet? Can you notify me if we have Matt Luff yet? I don't think we do. I think this is going to happen again, sadly. But certainly he is loading up, it sounds like. So we'll try to get – we do have Matt Luff? Okay, we don't have him. Okay, fair enough. It's tough. Hosting and producing at the same time, folks. But yeah, I think when you just look at this game in general, I think, it's one of those things where you look at the Maple Leafs perspective and this point streak. One of those things where you look at this point streak and you try to see, where this Leafs team can go from here. I think it's a building block type situation where you're trying to get to that next level in the Stanley Cup playoffs. You're trying to build towards a series win. You're trying to build towards a trade deadline, trying to figure out what they truly have on this roster. And that's why I like the fact that they called up Semyon Durga-Chinsev to give him a look, had a really, really strong preseason. And now they want to see what he can put together at the NHL level, right? I like the fact that they're rewarding their prospects. Pontus Holmberg's another guy I brought up ad nauseum the last couple of weeks where he really wasn't on the radar going into the preseason. And then all of a sudden, he's a mainstay on this roster on the third line, which is a great development, right? Especially when you have a team like this, you need some of these prospects who are on entry-level contracts to step up and show their worth. And certainly, I think from that perspective, the Leafs have to feel really, really about the fact that, they're getting contributions for guys on the lineup, and you get some of these younger players onto that lineup. I think it just makes a lot of difference in the grand scheme of things, right? When you're trying to build a contender. And again, you're paying the big four, the money that you're paying them, right? Like it's one of those things where it's just really, really difficult to compete in this league when you're paying guys like that much money, right? So when you get the opportunity to have, players like that in the lineup at the right time, it makes a whole lot of a difference in the grand scheme of things. So yes, I think when you look at this game in general, it'll be intriguing on many, many levels. And again, from the betting perspective, which I'll get to in mere moments, and we hope to connect with Matt Luff, it'll be one of those games where it's like a measuring stick game for both teams, not to mention like the true storyline that it's Robertson against Marner, right? But I think you look at the Maple Leafs in general, it's been a long time since they've lost in regulation. Looking forward to that. I think team defense is another thing, and discipline. Like you look at special teams, Dallas, crunching the numbers, really, really well coached. I believe they're fourth on the power play, fifth on the PK, and trying to put it all together now, right? Like that's the thing with Dallas defensively speaking under Rick Bowness, same type of conversation. You have Jason Robertson. Like the building blocks are there for this team. Can they put it all together now is the major league question when push comes to shove for that organization. I think from the Leafs perspective, they've really, really struggled lately. I would say it's an underlying storyline, not really talked about a lot because they've been winning games, but the power play has been really, really suspect. They've been struggling, right? So I think from that perspective, they're still trying to find their way a bit in terms of, that side of the leg. But like the power play is always an evolving storyline with this team because more times than not, you know what you're going to get, from that side of the picture when it comes to the team. Those guys are going to do their thing, right? And there's going to be ups, there's going to be downs throughout the season in terms of the power play and how hot and cold they are. But like I think it's fascinating to see. It's fascinating to see, that side of things when it comes to PP2 as well. So I'm really, really intrigued by that storyline. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like we're going to be able to connect with Matt Luff here. It's tough to do it while I'm on the air, sadly. So I might have to just give up on this front again, unfortunately, as we try to connect with him here. But that's the thing I'm looking at with this game is special teams, the goaltending situation. Matt Murray's been an incredible story for this Maple Leafs team and what they can do sort of moving forward. So, Aaron, I think we're going to move forward here. We're going to go to the wrap-up brought to you by our friends at PointsBet Canada. There it is. Okay. All right, so I got a couple looks for tonight. I'm gonna go with the shot prop here for Mitch Marner. Over 2.5 shots on goal, cleared in 4 straight games. And then I want an anytime goal. Like I'm going to get in the spirit of this game. I'm going to take an anytime goal for Jason Robertson plus 110, 21 goals in the past 18 games. So those are my 2 looks for this. And certainly those are my 2 looks. I'm going to go with Mitch Marner over 2.5 shots on goal and Jason Robertson anytime goal plus 110 is the number around what you're looking at. 21 goals in his past 18 games. So I'm very curious, and I got to stay in the spirit of the battle of the point streaks here. So those are my 2 looks. Mitch Marner over 2.5 shots on goal. Jason Robertson anytime goal. Aaron, do we have Matt Luff yet? Still working on him, I guess. Okay, well. We're approaching the end of the show here. Oh, there he is. Okay. Can you hear me, Matt? Earth to Matt. I can't hear him now, Aaron. What's going on? We do have him on the screen, which is a phenomenal thing, but there is no audio breaking through here with Matt Luff. Maybe we don't want to hear him speak. I do not hear him, Aaron. Okay, we'll try to connect one more time. Apologies for the technical difficulties today here, folks. It's a work in progress, certainly with this show, but we'll try to connect with Matt in mere moments so we can get him on here and share the picture of his season as he continues his recovery here from a broken wrist. Do we have him yet? Nothing yet. Okay. So those are my 2 looks once again from the wrap-up point of view. Anytime goal for Mitch Marner over 2.5 shots on goal as well. I would look at that. And Jason Robertson anytime goal. I think when you look at the big picture and you look at the Dallas Stars in general, I think that's the perspective I would look at. And I think if you're looking for offense too, it's one of those things where I think you're expecting goals in this game. I think when you look at these 2 teams, how hot they've truly been, that's the perspective that I would take a look at too. Aaron, do we have them? Any audio coming through here? Okay. We are trying our best to connect here with Matt Luff. I guarantee you it's going to be a fantastic interview. But when we get to that point, we'll let you know. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to connect here, sadly. So I'm going to bid you farewell for this show. Again, looking forward to tonight's game. Many thanks to Jay Rosehill as well for 3 Hits with Rosie and dropping by and doing his thing. Always bringing the heat here on the show. And at one point in time, we will connect with Matt Luff. This is a growing storyline on this show that we can't connect with him. But I'm going to bid you farewell for now. So those are my plays again. Again, keep it locked, subscribe, listen, all that fun stuff. And looking forward to the Leafs and the Dallas Stars tonight. Thanks so much for listening and watching. Take care.